Love you. Love y'all. Love you, church. You may be seated. I'm so excited and honored to get to share this morning. I have a word on my heart. Happy Mother's Day to all the mamas. Yes. And happy Mother's Day to the future mamas. Your day is coming for sure. For sure. Well, before I jump into my message, I want to take a moment to honor my husband because he's always up here calling me dark, sexy, dark chocolate or whatever name is on the tip of his lips at a given moment. So it's my turn. I got the mic. I just want to say thank you for honoring me. Thank you for the way that you love me, that you celebrate me, that you take care of our kids, that you keep God first and then us second. We never feel like you choose the church over us. Thank you for how you serve me. He brings me coffee every morning. And you're just my best friend. And thank you for how in love you are with Jesus because it makes you more in love with me. Love you. So I'm just going to dive right in. I have been hanging out in the Bible with this woman that they call the Shunammite woman. And probably for the last year, I have been marinating on her story. I've been studying her. I feel like she's been mentoring me from afar. I've just been watching the way that she lives her life. And if she was alive today, she would be an influencer. Someone that we all follow, someone that we ask her to send us the links. Send us the link for where you found those shoes. Send us the link for who does your hair. Send us the link for where you bought the wrapping paper for those Christmas presents. Send us the link for that recipe that you just made. So many people that we all follow and that we love. But there's a lot of people like this woman that you will not see on Instagram. But she should be. She should be someone who we are influenced by. She should be someone who we say, teach me how you did that. There's that app that many of us have called Like to Know It. And you can find out where someone has gotten everything from the blender in their kitchen to the shoes that they're wearing to the decorations on their table. And I feel like we should be, I want to like to know it about this Shunammite woman. And the thing that we don't understand about anyone with great influence is there's always a cost. There's always a price to pay. I think we see people's lives from afar and we zoom in on them and we nerd out and we could tell you who they dated in high school. We can tell you all their kids' names for real. You guys are good. Like some of you, if one of your friends starts dating someone, you can find a picture of them in 6th grade. You're just that good. And I feel like this woman, what she would tell you if you were following her is don't get it twisted. Yes, my pictures look good. Yes, my filters are on point. But there was a cost to this strength that I have. There was a cost to this wisdom. There was a cost to this platform. And I want you to learn about that cost. I don't just want you to want my life. I want you to see that the price that I paid to stand in the shoes that I'm standing in. And so let's learn from her today. Go with me to 2 Kings 4, 8 through 10. One day Elisha went to Shunem, and a well-to-do woman was there. This is the Shunammite woman I've been telling y'all about, who urged him to stay for a meal. So whenever he came by, he stopped there to eat. She said to her husband, I know that this man who often comes our way is a holy man of God. Let's make a small room on the roof, put in it a bed and a table, a chair, and a lamp for him. Then he can stay there whenever he comes to us. She was a wealthy woman. She was an influential woman, and she said, you know what? I want to take care of this man of God as he comes through. I've been wanting to add on to the house anyways. Honey, here's the Pinterest board. This is what the side table is going to look like. This is what the lamp's going to look like. This is what the rug's going to look like. I'm not just doing this because I want my house to look good. I'm doing this because I want the man of God to feel seen. I want him to feel seen when he wakes up in the morning. He's been taking such good care of us. I want to take care of him. She was one of those people that I call, she has like crazy hospitality, like irresistible hospitality, but almost like forceful hospitality. I'm that way. If you know me well enough and you stand by me long enough, I will force you to have water. I will hydrate you till you can't be more hydrated. I will feed you till you can't be fed anymore. Just ask Crystal. She sat by me many of times where I've said, hey, do you want a bite of this? And she says, no, I'm good. And I've literally put food in her mouth. She said, Oneka, you baby birded me. But I can't help it. If I'm experiencing something, I want you to experience it also. And I think this woman was that way. I think she had like a forcible hospitality where she said, honey, we're taking care of him. We are taking care of him. She was generous. And because she was so generous, it softened the heart of the man of God. And he wanted to bless her. He wanted to do something for her. He wanted to serve her because he had been served so well. So he had his servant ask her, what do you need? What do you have want of? And this is what she said. She replied, I have a home among my own people. And when I read that, I felt like that was her guarded answer, but not her real answer. You know how sometimes someone asks you how you're doing and you say, oh, I'm blessed, I'm highly favored. I'm doing great. I'm #blessed. I'm doing amazing. I love God. Isn't God good? But really that's translation for I'm just saying that because I don't want you to know how I'm really doing. So I'm just slapping a blessed on it so that you don't get to the depth of my soul. Well, that's what she did. She just said, I'm good. I'm content. I have a home among my own people. I don't need anything else. But I love it because there was someone else in the room who knew more. And you need to be around those people who will tell on you when you don't tell on yourself. That's why we have to be in community. That's why connect groups are so important because you need friends in your life that will say, you know what, there's more to the story. And so this servant, look at what he said. He called her out because Elijah said, but seriously, what can be done for her? Gehazi said, and he put her business on front. He said, she has no son and her husband is old. So he told on her because she didn't want to say, she wanted to act like she had it all together and say, I'm just content. I need nothing more. I'm just so happy in my life. But really, she held back. So someone spoke up for her. Listen to this, verse 15. Then Elijah said, call her. And I feel like he said this with this passion, with this strength, with this, there's a miracle in the making, with this like anticipation, like get her quick, call her. So he called her and she stood in the doorway. When I read that verse about stood in the doorway, it made me think that maybe she was too intimidated to come all the way to the table, to come close to the man of God. It made me think that she thought, I don't want to come too close. I don't want you to read my mail. I don't want you to read my mind. So I'm just going to stay in the doorway. I'm going to be partially present. I'm going to show up partially, but I'm not going to give my whole heart because I'm afraid about what's going to happen. So she stood back. She gave back and not forward because I wondered if she thought, what if he really knows what I want? But even in the doorway, he found her and he prophesied over her. So if you find yourself in the doorway of your sickness right now, if you find yourself in the doorway of your mental health, if you find yourself in the doorway of deciding, am I going to get involved in this church? Am I going to get hurt again? If you find yourself in the doorway of a new relationship that you're about to enter, if you find yourself in the doorway of taking a risk on your business, I want you to know that you can't hide even when you're in the doorway. You can't hide in the balcony. You can't hide online. Jesus sees you. He loves you. He has a call of God upon your life, and he will prophesy over you from the alley to the doorway to the palace. He will get a hold of you and grab a hold of your heart. And look what he did to her while she was in the doorway. He prophesied over her. Verse 16, he said, about this time next year, you will hold a son in your arms. You will hold a son in your arms about this time next year. All throughout the Bible, you hear him say, he said it to Abraham and Sarah. He said about this time next year. And I just dare to believe, I dare to speak life just like Elisha did and said about this time next year, you will have the wisdom that you need for your business. About this time next year, you will have a breakthrough in your family. About this time next year, you will walk in healing and health and freedom. About this time next year, you will be married. About this time next year, you will carry a baby in your arms. I feel like I'm in a room of faith. I know that we've been praying over this church from the moment we planted this church. So as I say about this time next year, it's been covered in prayer. It's backed by prayer. It's not my words, it's words from heaven. But this is where that woman was, because we're going to just read her story. We're going to walk with her. She's holding our hand this morning. She's saying, do not quit. Do not give up. Learn from my pain. Learn from my triumphs. Learn from the days that I wanted to give up, and learn on the days that I wanted to quit, but I kept going. So this is where she was. He prophesied over her. He spoke life over her. He shared a promise with her. And this is her response. No, my Lord, she objected. Please, man of God, don't mislead your servant. There's her pain right there. He's speaking life over her. He's prophesying that miracles will happen. He's reminding her about this time her dream will come true of being a mother. And she is so hurt that she objects. the word of God over her life. And she says, don't get my hopes up, because my hopes were hurt before. I don't have the marriage that I thought I was going to have. My kids are not behaving the way that I thought they were going to behave. My business, everybody thinks, is blowing up because they spoke potential over me. But if you only knew the debt that I had, don't get my hopes up again and telling me that the next hire is going to be the game changer. Don't get my hopes up again that I'm going to fall in love again even after a divorce. Don't get my hopes again that my wife is going to change or my husband is going to change. Don't get my hopes again that I can be in high school and live for God and not be judged and not be bullied. Don't get my hopes up again. But even with our excuses, even with our pain, even with our disappointment, God's word supersedes our lack of faith. Because look at what it says in verse 17. But the woman became pregnant. And the next year, everybody say next year. About the same time, she gave birth to a son, just as Elijah had told her. Verse 18, the child grew. And one day he went out to his father, who was with the reapers. He said to his father, my head, my head. His father told a servant, carry him to his mother, like any dad does. He's like, I don't know what's going on with our son. Get the mom, get my wife, quickly. Verse 20, after the servant had lifted him up and carried him to his mother, the boy sat on her lap until noon, and then he died. She went from stop believing, stop dreaming, to having a prophet in her home who spoke life over her, who told her that she would have a son. So then her heart softened again because she held that promise. She held that son. Then out of the blue, we all have those out of the blue moments where you get that phone call, you get that text message, you get that DM, you get that doctor's report, you get that financial statement that comes out of the blue. It's not what you planned. It's not what people prayed. It's not what you saw coming. And before you know it, you're holding your baby who you're believing God. You're speaking life over your child. I wonder what she was saying. I'm sure she was crying as she was praying, as she was holding him in her lap. I'm sure she did not think the unthinkable was going to happen. I'm sure she thought, I'm going to hope again. I'm going to trust again. I'm going to sing your favorite songs over you. I'm going to pray a breakthrough. I'm going to pray for a miracle. And as she held him, her dream, the thing that she held in her lap, the thing that she prized, that she cherished, gone in an instant. Many of us have held on to things that we have prayed over, that we didn't ask for, that were given to us. And we've watched those dreams die. We've watched relationships die. We've watched dreams die. And we've said, God, why? Why did you ask me to believe only for me to be walking through this storm? Verse 21, this is what she did, and we're going to learn from her. She went up, because this is the woman who didn't believe, then she believed. She got the promise, but then the promise died. She went up and laid her child on the bed of the man of God. Then she shut the door and she went out. We can learn from her. She didn't take her frustration and put it out on Facebook or Instagram, because Facebook and Instagram can't help her in her moment of need right there. She knew that if I lay my promise that died at the foot of the cross, if I lay the weight of the world that I feel on my shoulders, if I give that weight over to Jesus, if I place it on the bed of the man of God, that is the very best place for it to be. Also, as you see, she also shut the door. And some of us need to shut the door on some thoughts, on some relationships that don't understand that we're trusting God even when a situation seems impossible. We're being too nice. We're being too nice and too hospitable to the wrong things. We're listening for a little bit too long. We need to shut the door. We need to lay the situation that seems dead, that seems impossible. We need to lay it like she did on the bed of the man of God. For us, it would be laying it at the foot of the cross. And she went out. Verse 22, she called her husband and said, please send me one of the servants and a donkey so I can go to the man of God and quickly return. So remember, she's a boss, she's a leader, she's an influencer, and she's a woman with a plan. She's a woman with a plan even while she's in pain. She has strategy from heaven. She gets stuff done. But her family, her husband doesn't even understand in this moment. Verse 23. Sometimes people won't understand why you still keep showing up at church. Sometimes people won't understand why you decide to keep giving and trusting God with your finances. Sometimes people won't understand when you continue to worship God even though your breakthrough has not come. But they don't have to understand. Her husband said, why go today? It's not the new moon or the Sabbath. She said, that's all right. Turn to the person next to you and say, that's all right. She wasn't waiting for the perfect time. She knew I needed to get to the man of God. She knew she needed a breakthrough. She knew she needed a miracle, and she was okay with being misunderstood. We can learn from this tenacity. We can learn from this strength. We can learn from this stank that she had. We can learn from this grit, for the dirt underneath her nails, she just was like, I'm going. I don't care if you understand. I don't have to write you a letter to understand why I'm going. I'm going because I know I need to get to the man of God. She didn't say, honey, will you saddle my donkey? She saddled her own donkey. And she said to her servant, lead on. Don't slow down for me unless I tell you. So she set out and came to the man of God at Mount Carmel. When he saw her in the distance, I feel like God is saying to you today, and to me as well, I see you in the distance. I see you in the distance. I see your prayers that are not yet answered. I see your tears. I see your marriage where you want it to be, where it's not quite. I see your future spouse. I see you, in the distance. I'm gonna hydrate a little for myself. Sometimes the haze gets to me. He said, I saw her in the distance. The man of God said to his servant Gehazi, look, there's a Shunammite. Run to meet her and ask her, are you all right? Is your husband all right? Is your child all right? And here she is again, still tears. You can still have tears, still be waiting for your miracle, and by faith say, everything is all right. She wasn't denying the pain. She wasn't denying the weight of what she was walking through. She wasn't denying the disappointment, but she knew it was all right because she knew where to place her pain. She knew where to place her hurt. She wasn't saying, I'm happy with what happened. She was saying, I'm gonna be all right because I know who holds my future. When she reached the man of God at the mountain, tears streaming down her face, she had to have knelt because it says she took hold of his feet. So this is a desperate woman. This is a woman who's believing for a miracle. This is a woman who has seen death, looked it square in the eyes, but still decided to hope, still decided to keep standing. She took hold of his feet. Gehazi came over to push her away, but the man of God said, leave her alone. She is in bitter distress, but the Lord has hidden it from me. He has not told me why. Here again, she's being very honest with her pain and with her disappointment. Put yourself in her shoes, and many of you have situations that are coming to mind even as I speak today. And this is her and her frustration. Did I ask you for a son, my Lord? For some of you, you're saying, did I ask you for this wife? Did I ask you for this husband? Did I ask you for my business to blow up overnight? Did I ask you for this dream? I didn't even ask you for this. Did I ask you for this to happen? I did not. It's pain, it's real and raw. She said, didn't I tell you? Don't raise my hopes. Verse 29, Elijah said to Gehazi, tuck your cloak into your belt. I love that Elijah was not mad or scared or intimidated by her pain and the rawness of her heart. He said, tuck your cloak into your belt. Take my staff in your hand and run. Don't greet anyone you meet. You feel that urgency that he had? And if anyone greets you, do not answer. Lay my staff on the boy's face. But the child's mother said, as surely as the Lord lives and as you live, I will not leave you. So he got up and followed her. I love that she knew she had to stay close to the man of God. I love that she knew I need to stay planted in church even when my pain is the worst pain I've ever felt. I knew that she knew I needed to stay locked in community. I need to have words of life spoken over me. I need to worship. I need to sing. I need to stay close. I think when real life happens, sometimes we want to hide. Sometimes we want to stay home. Sometimes we don't want to get out of bed, and I understand that and I get it. But the best place to be is in God's house, surrounded by God's people who can sing over you, who can speak words of life over you, who can remind you that he who began a good work in you will see it to completion. She knew I didn't come all this way to quit. I came all this way to be surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses and to grab the hand of the man of God until my miracle comes. And even if my miracle doesn't come, I'm going to be surrounded, and the miracle will be that I made it through the pain. Verse 31, Gehazi went on ahead and laid the staff on the boy's face. I don't know what the home felt like, but I'm sure it felt heavy. I'm sure there were tears. I'm sure there was disappointment in the air. I'm sure the air was just thick with heaviness. And so Gehazi walks in. He lays the staff on the boy's face, but there was no sound or response. And sometimes when we're doing the right thing, there's no sound or response. There's not always fireworks when you live and you live for God and you choose to put one foot in front of the other. There's not always a light show. There's not always fountains that just spring up and birds singing. Sometimes it still feels stagnant and it still feels dead. Verse 31, Gehazi went on ahead and laid the staff on the boy's face, but there was no sound or response. So Gehazi went back to meet Elijah and told him, the boy has not awakened. Verse 32, when Elisha reached the house, there the boy was, lying dead on his couch. The couch that was in his room, the couch that the family provided for him. I'm sure as a leader in that moment, he was like, God, I need you to show up. You're the one who gave me the word for this woman. I can't do this by myself. I need you to show up. So he went in and he shut the door, just like we have to do. And the two of them prayed to the Lord. Then he got on the bed and laid on the boy mouth to mouth and eyes to eyes, hands to hands. And he stretched himself out on him. The boy's body grew warm. Verse 35, Elijah turned away and walked back and forth in the room. And I don't know about you, but I'm a woman that's about to walk back and forth. Whatever storm comes my way, whatever situation happens in my home, when my kids aren't acting right, when Earl and I are walking through a disappointment, when people from the church hurt my feelings, and that does happen, I choose to walk back and forth. I choose to say, God, I trust you. I'm going to walk until I see the breakthrough. I'm going to walk until I see the miracle. I'm going to walk and ask for peace. I'm going to walk and ask for joy. I'm going to walk and ask for strength. I'm going to pace all through the night if I have to. My baby's sick, I don't know why, but I'm going to walk back and forth until I have a miracle. My marriage isn't how I want it, but I'm going to walk back and forth. My business is still not where I want it to be, but I'm going to walk back and forth. So he got out of the bed and stretched out on him once more. The boy sneezed 7 times and opened his eyes. When he stretched out, life poured in. When he stretched out, life poured in. When Jesus stretched out on the cross for us, life poured in. When he laid his body out, life poured in. There's something about a life stretched out that life happens. I watch the serve team here week in and week out. They're stretching their life out, and breakthrough happens and miracle happens. It's in the stretch that we see the miracle. It's in the stretch that we can say, God, you have been faithful. You have been so good. And when I was thinking about this song this week, about how God, I will see your goodness, it is running after me. I think that this woman, she wouldn't have just praised him at the resurrection. I think she taught herself to praise and to have hope and to stir up her faith and to remind herself that God is good even in the not yet. And I feel like I'm in a room that God wants to say, would you praise me in the not yet? You've been faithful. You've been good. Even when you have an allergy cough. With every breath, I'm going to praise you. Yes, with every breath, I will see the goodness of God. This is for you today. You will see the goodness in your marriage. You will see the goodness in your family, in your business, in your health. See his goodness pursuing you. Let the team sing over you for just a second.
All my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. All my life you have been faithful. Yes, all of my life, all my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God.
This woman that we're talking about today, I'm thinking about that moment when she had her little boy in her lap. You can just set it right there. It's perfect. And she was sitting and she was holding her promise in her lap. And many of you have something that you're believing God for that is sitting in your lap. And just like this woman, she had to stir up her faith. She had to sing songs of worship. She had to pray. She had to believe God for a miracle. And as she placed it on her lap, she knew ultimately it was not her lap. It was the lap of her heavenly Father. So even now, as you think about the things that you're believing God for, that you're thinking about the things that are not yet, that you're thinking about the pain that you're experiencing, even now I want you to place it in the lap of your heavenly Father, because his lap is the very best place. Your pain belongs to Jesus. He died on the cross. He took stripes so that you could be healed, that you could be whole. And I feel like the Shunammite woman today is saying, even when you're in your not yet, even when your dream hasn't come to pass yet, would you see his goodness running after you? Would you see his mercy running after you? Would you see him stretched out over your situation? Would you see the blood from the cross flowing for healing and new life? Would you see surrender? Would you see breakthrough? Would you see miracles? Would you see his goodness chasing you, pursuing you, even in the not yet?
Running after me, your goodness is running after me, your goodness, yeah. Oh, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I surrender now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after me. Your goodness and mercy. Come on, cry out to Jesus. Your goodness is running after me. With my life laid down, oh God, and I give you everything. Your goodness is running, and it keeps running after me.
Let's lift our hands to heaven. Father God, I thank you that your goodness is running after us. I thank you that you're pursuing us. I thank you that you stretched out your life so that we could have new life. So as we lift our hands to heaven, I thank you for reminding us that you are faithful, that you are kind, that you are good, that you are loving. I thank you that you see us in the distance, and I speak a breakthrough. I speak healing. I speak rain from heaven to fall fresh on every single life. I thank you for a holy encounter. I thank you for a divine impartation. I thank you that you have been faithful, that you have been good. I thank you that you're just getting started with our lives. So with a song of praise, we thank you for your goodness and we worship you as a church.
Every breath that I am able,
Come on, let's sing it, let's sing it.
I will sing
Of the goodness of
the
God.
goodness of God.
All my life, yeah.
All my life you have been
Come on, sing it in the middle of the storm, in the middle of the problem, in the middle of the pain.
all my life you have been so
good. Come on, church.
Every breath that I am able,
God praise in this place? Come on, can you clap your hands like he's been faithful? Come on, church. Come on, church. Come on, church. Come on, church. Come on, can you clap your hands in the middle of the storm? Man, my heart is filled with so much faith. Thank you so much, Pastor Oneka McClellan, for pouring that message into us today. You may be seated, friends, for just a moment. Powerful. Powerful. It'll shape our understanding of what it means to be a follower of Jesus. That while the woman is sitting in the chair holding her son, she's still saying, your goodness is running after me. Before all my prayers get answered, your goodness is still running after me. When I'm believing God for a job, your goodness is still running after me. When I keep being reminded of my past, your goodness is still running after me. This is exactly what we needed. Everybody online in the room, it's exactly what we needed to be pushed forward in our walk with God. Do me a favor though, if you wouldn't mind, bow your heads for just a moment. Because you may be under the sound of my voice and your heart may be stirred right now, but you're not yet a follower of Jesus. You haven't yet surrendered your heart and your life to serving him. Maybe there was a time you were following Jesus, but you slipped away, you've gone another direction. If you're honest with yourself right now, you would say you're going your own way, doing your own thing. You're on the driver's seat of your life, Jesus Christ is not. And if that's you here today, online or in the room, you've never given your heart to Christ, you've never received salvation through his finished work. And you know today's the day for you to give your heart and your life to him. On the count of 3, I want you to do something simple but bold. Just throw your hand in the air and say, yes, that's me. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Just throw your hand up in the air. Yep, we got friends in the balcony, on the floor. You say, yep, that's me. I'm gonna give my heart and my life to Jesus. This is your moment. Yep, lift it up high. Lift it up high. We can see it. It's the grace of God that's drawing you closer right now. I'm gonna ask everyone to put your hand over your heart if you would not mind. And I'd like everyone to repeat this prayer out loud after me. Say, dear Jesus, I ask you to forgive me of all my sins. I admit I've made mistakes. And today, I give you my heart. I give you my life. Give me the power to live for you. In Jesus' name, amen. Can you lift your heads up, clap your hands? Come on, church family, we celebrate every single one